Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Hearthmind Challenge Series number 29, sponsored by M People this week. We are about to start up our final, which is going to be Joidvivr, who is a finalist from previous challenges, and this week he will be facing. Who is he facing? I'm drawing a blank here. He's facing Chicken, he's a first-time finalist as far as I know. I don't think I've ever even seen him in our tournaments before, so he's kind of a dark horse coming out in this thing where, I really don't know what to expect from him. Obviously, if he made it this far, though, he certainly has to be a decent player, so I'm excited to see what type of decks come out of him. Have you been able to see any of their play tonight?
No, unfortunately, I haven't seen either one of the guys play tonight. Joidvivr, like you mentioned, was our finest few challenges back, so I did see him play then. Tonight, though, I had no idea what either one of those guys bring, so well, I'm excited to see.
I want to say I saw a shaman deck earlier in the tournament from Chicken. I could be thinking of a different match, but I want to say I seen him playing a shaman at one point. And I am definitely a big shaman fanboy, so I'm hoping that is the case. Are they ready to get started here? Do you have confirmation
Uh,
from them?
yes, they are. They were having some difficulties, but fortunately, they managed to get everything fixed. So they should be heading into the games right now.
All right. Yeah, I'm still not seeing them entering into their challenge, so yeah, I guess it's just taking a second here for it to go through. It's been one of those kind of nights where everything just seems to be a little bumpier than usual, but all in all, we got through it. I think it's another relatively smooth tournament for us, and can't really complain.
No,
Okay.
considering the fact that we had a lot more people than we usually do, thanks to our friends at M People who sponsored a pretty decent prize pool, the tournament went really smooth.
Oh,
There we go. Now I see them getting into game.
yeah, it just popped up for me as well, so they are heading into their first match.
Now, I would like to see a shaman, but to be honest, I think shaman is really weak in today's meta, and our no death rattle minions allowed restriction is not really going to help shaman.
Okay. The stream bugged out on one side, so I'm only seeing Joie de Vire. I'm gonna try to load it back up real quick here so we can get back into it.
It seems like Battle.net is having some issues because Joidvivr was having issues before, and I'm having issues on one of my screens as well.
Yeah, ever since this latest patch, the Undertaker's still getting his due. It seems like. But
It's
from
so crazy how they patch one thing and something seamless you seem completely unrelated gets broken.
yeah,
For instance, a friend list.
yep. Okay, so I do have it loading up now, so I'll be in here on both sides in a second.
So what decks did they bring today?
It looks like like a oil rogue is what Joidvivr opened up with, and Chicken is playing some type of druid. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I mean, it's like I just seen an Enhanso Mechano come out, which is kind of not a card you would typically see in a druid deck.
Could it be a hobgoblin?
This could be the Hobgoblin Druid we've been hearing about. I didn't even think of that.
Well, your wish might come true.
Oh, the Hobgoblin was just drawn. Oh, wow. This is groundbreaking here. I'm so excited. I don't really see any other one-attack minions, though, so it looks like he wants to play the Hobgoblin because he was just hovering over it. But, I mean, the rest of his hand doesn't really...
Well, the Hobgoblin by himself is really not that great. You really want to play him the same turn as a one-attack minion to at least get one buff off. Preferably, you play him and have two minions.
Yeah, and I mean, with this board, with the Van Cleef and the SI7 out there, it dies right away. I think that was kind of a play just out of not having any better play to me. This looks like it may go quickly to Joidvivr, because he prepped out that sprint, and with his opponent having essentially an empty board, that just gives him so much range in terms of what he can do now. I mean, I think this, yeah, I was just going to say the SI will clear out that Hobgoblin to prevent any hijinks coming out of that. And
a 6/6 Van Cleef that early in the game is huge.
Oh yeah, I mean, because right here we just seen him have to burn one half of his combo just to get rid of that, and to be sitting on Savage Roar 2 copies in his hand, that's got to be very painful.
Well, the Hobgoblin Druid relies on you having, it's kind of like a token deck, it relies on you having a big board. When you can't really do anything and you're forced to play a naked Hobgoblin into a 6/6 Van Cleef, it's not looking too good.
Yeah, and you know, this is probably a very one-sided matchup in the Rogue's favor, I think, because Rogue has such great removal tools that it's just going to be able to deal with any type of tokens you generate unless the Hobgoblin is out there to be buffing them up right away.
Well, the Miracle, it's kind of like the Miracle of old, where to beat it, you need to put a lot of pressure fast. You need to build up a big board. And if you're not able to do that early on, which Chicken was not able to do, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, and if you look at this hand of Joidvivr right now, this is just brutal in the coming turns. I mean, he has the 2 Sharp Sword Oils along with the Blade Flurry. So he's got an amazing amount of burst right now. To where, yeah, he uses 1-up right there just to clean up the board.
And I think it was a good decision. He got some pretty good value out of that.
Oh, absolutely. And also, too, it opens up for him to be able to play both Sharp Sword Oils and essentially have his creatures relatively uncontested. So they're going to be able to swing through the face. And the Sharp Sword Oil, like that's actually, if he doesn't play the Annoyatron here, I think it's lethal.
Well, Chicken played fairly safe, just trying to survive.
Yeah, and I would imagine he's probably expecting Sharp Sword Oil, so that's why he cleared the board with his face there.
Well, it's in pretty much every rogue deck, so it's safe to assume it's there somewhere.
Yeah.
Pay attention, class.
And now since he saw the swipe come out, the Violet Teacher's definitely, you know, it's a safe play where he can put that down and just start overwhelming the board.
I find this new Miracle to be even more annoying than the old Leroy one.
I think it's equally annoying. The one plus of it, I have to say, is not having to listen to the Leroy Jenkins scream and three times in a row, if you even make it that long. I would usually concede after the first one just because I don't want to listen to it. And you know what's coming after, because it doesn't come down until they're going to kill you.
I've seen people bluff it, though. They play Leroy even though they don't have the 2 Shadow Steps, just because a lot of people concede right there.
Yeah. And
Pay attention, class.
Zap on the Ancient. That's interesting.
I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to learn.
I guess he's probably looking at it like, that's going to consume essentially an entire turn at 7 mana if he wants to replay it. And with his board right now, the 5 health wouldn't even make a difference in terms of the damage he can put out this turn coming up.
That's true. I'll buy that. And he has so much damage in hand.
Yeah, that's the
He
thing.
can burst a lot.
With that's like you said, why this rogue is so frustrating to play against, because you can dominate the board, and then all of a sudden they'll get a minion or two to stick and be able to drop 20 damage out of their hand like easily. Because I had actually played a game the other day where a rogue like this, I want to say they had 1 or 2 minions on board. I think it was 1, and they managed to burst me down from 28 health to 0 in a single turn.
Yep, that's very annoying. And I know people are going to say, well, you should have cleared the board. It's not always an option to clear the board completely every single turn.
Yeah, exactly. You clear it as much as you can, but it's not an option always. And, if you're just clearing their board and not advancing your position, you're eventually going to lose.
And we saw that burst work right now.
Yep. This deck, I think, is a sleeper. I think we're going to see more of it coming out now that Undertaker is gone. Because that, like you said, is kind of the weakness of a Miracle, that you need to put so much pressure on it and just, rush it to the point where it can't deal with it, which is something that Hunter is able to do. Or the old Hunter was able to do, I should say. But, now they're not going to have as easy of a time building up that Undertaker that a rogue can't effectively deal with their dagger over the course of 2 turns.
And it dies to a backstab no matter how big it is.
Yeah, so it lost a lot of its gusto, I guess you could say. So I think this rogue is definitely going to be an up-and-comer in this next coming ladder season.
And it's already been pretty present in the current one. I've seen it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's been floating around, but I wouldn't say it was like a deck that you could expect to see on a regular basis. Like, you would see it here and there.
Well, most of it was Hunter. And then if you take out Hunter, then the rogue had a decent percentage of the rest.
Yeah, alright, so they are starting up here.
So I wonder if we're going to see a different deck, or we're going to see the Hobgoblin deck come out again. The Hobgoblin deck, if you get a good start, has a good chance against the rogue if you manage to establish a predominant board early on.
Yeah, and it isn't Druid, but this doesn't look like the Hobgoblin Druid. This looks like a ramp. Because, I mean, judging from the Wild Growth, and I see the Yeti and the Druid of Claw in hand, I don't think it's the same one.
Which this can work as well, because you just set up a wall of taunts and hide behind it.
Ramp Druid is definitely a hard matchup for a rogue, because all their small removal tends to lose a lot of its value when you have to kill, 5, 4, or more health minions. It's
let alone 10 health minions.
Yeah, let alone that. It's not like your 1 damage AoEs and 2 damage backstabs are doing all that much. You have to burn multiple cards to get through anything. You're not like you get the card advantage where you do if you're playing against, say, like a Paladin, Hunter, that like a Fan of Knives is taking out 2-3 targets and drawing you a card. In this matchup, it just doesn't do it.
So what do you do in this situation? You're facing only a 4/6 taunt, which is not the biggest one you're going to face, and already you really don't have too good of an option to clear it.
Yeah, I like the deadly poison here. And it makes
Play it with SI.
it makes sense too to develop the auto barber there, even though you wasted the point of damage on the weapon for that turn, because it establishes some type of board going into the following turn.
Yes, I agree. You need to have something on the board there. Even though it doesn't really fare up against that Yeti too well.
No, it definitely doesn't, but I mean, a fan of knives plus the weapon, I mean, can kill it.
The problem with using your face to clear stuff
Yeah,
is that you're getting down on health pretty fast.
Yeah, that's the other problem with a druid and their larger minions, is that using your dagger to clear things adds up very quickly.
There's a prep, so we're going to see a prep sprint next turn most likely.
Yeah, I would say so. He said,
Yeah, Joidvivr is already at 18 health.
though I have to say, like, if you look at Chicken's hand, he has pretty much run him out of threats, at least for the moment. Because all he's really got left is that Shade and Big Game Hunter, which playing the Big Game Hunter naked is probably not a bad option in one of these turns, wherever it fits into his curve.
Oh, I would do it. You're not expecting anything bigger than anything with 7 attack or more.
Yeah, and
Unless it's a big Edwin, but...
yeah, that's the only way you would really see it, is an Edwin, or if something gets buffed up by the Sharp Sword Oil, and by that point it's kind of like Leroy, where chances are you're about to be dead anyway. So that was a nice sprint there, because I mean, he got the Azure Drake and he got 2 Eviscerates, which is, he just stacked up quite a bit of damage.
I don't disagree with hitting face there, because he has to put on pressure.
Yeah, and all he really has to do at this point is, if he can get a minion to stick, he'll probably have the game. Because along with the Eviscerate in his hand, the Blade Flurry, the Sharp Sword Oil, that's...
And Deadly Poison. That clears the board right there.
He does only have the 1 Blade Flurry, so we may see him hold on to the Deadly Poison to use it together with the Sharp Sword Oil.
The problem with that is you're letting the shade grow, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, so we are going to see him clear it right here.
Yes, and I agree with it. You can't let that shade get out of control.
And he still has a lot of options in his hand as well, even after burning his weapon and the Deadly Poison there.
Well, and we see there's no taunts in Chicken's hand. Chicken's hand is actually kind of garbage, if you ask me.
Yeah, he has, you know, the Wild Growth, which isn't doing anything but a cycle. Yeah, next turn. And now right there he played both his silences, so that opens up for Joidvivr that he can pretty much at this point play his Van Cleef at will, make it as big as he wants, and the only thing he really would have to worry about is a Big Game Hunter.
Which he already seen play.
Yeah, so it's probably not that likely that there's 2 in the deck. So I think we might even see the... I was thinking we might see the Eviscerate on top.
Oh, he's playing around a second Big Game Hunter.
Okay, I can see that. You know, it's the safer play.
Oh, wow. That's terrible.
Yeah, that is not good. He is going to pay though for not making the Van Cleef bigger because it's going to die to swipe and the minion. Looked like he stopped for a moment. He was thinking about innervating out Ysera there.
He's 1 mana short of doing both.
Yeah. And Joidvivr has the sap in hand, which is... It's a good deal, like, for dealing with something... Like, Ysera, granted, you draw the card at the end of your turn, so you will get the card. But it forces your opponent to, if they want to continue to play that card, they have to replay it every turn.
Haha!
Yeah.
Well, unless there's a taunt, this is game. Okay, well, a swipe will make him survive, but I don't think he's going to use it. No, he has to use it.
Yeah, he can swipe in hero power. So I'm sure we're going to see Ysera get sapped here.
Oh, absolutely.
And getting the dream out of that was not a good draw. That was probably about the worst thing he could get out of it, aside from Ysera Awakens, which would have just killed him.
Well, so he survives another turn, but I don't really see
Yeah, there's
anything
really...
that would save him at this point, especially with the Assassin's Blade in hand.
Yeah, there's really nowhere to go from here. Like, hero power and attack into the Auctioneer, I think, is the way to go on this turn.
Well, he's gonna cycle to see if he can get anything better.
Well, I mean,
Might as well.
yeah. Because, you know, he doesn't know. An Ancient of Lore could have potentially kept him alive another turn. So yeah, he's gonna be done here from the Assassin's Blade, so... Alright, that's game 2, so that brings us to 2-0 for this rogue from Joidvivr so far. It's definitely proving to be a force here. And this is actually, I want to say this is the first rogue I've seen played today out of any of the matches that I spectated. I didn't see anyone else running rogue.
Which is interesting because I believe it's a very good tournament deck for the same reason that I talked about Handlock in our previous stream, that you get to use most of your cards in most games with Prep Sprint, with Auctioneer, and a lot of other stuff that draws you 1 or 2 cards here and there. You get to use all your options. So bad draws aren't usually as bad.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like, if you're able to draw your whole deck, it gives you such a deeper level of consistency in that game because you know what's going to be available to you. Like, I mean, granted, it may not be immediately available to you depending on your draw, but it, you know, it becomes a lot more of understanding the decisions you need to make your deck work in a particular matchup, as opposed to, you know, just hoping you draw the cards you need.
Well, it looks like they jumped right into the next game, so let's see what decks we're going to see this time.
Yeah, it is obviously the same rogue, but I'm not sure which druid variant this is. I think this may be the Hobgoblin again, because I saw the Echoing Ooze and now I see a Power of the Wild drawn.
So it has to be the Hobgoblin one, because the Power of the Wild really doesn't make sense in the ramp one.
Yeah.
And this is a deck that can beat the rogue, it just needs a really strong start.
Which it doesn't really look like he's gotten. I mean, looks like double Power of the Wild here. Yep, that is what we're going to see. And that just dies to the Blade Flurry right now. I mean, you know, he didn't know the Blade Flurry was in hand, but even so, it would die to the dagger over the course of 2 turns.
And looking at the rest of Chicken's hand, it's really not looking too good. Okay, the Lothep is going to pretty much stop the Druid from doing anything for 1 turn, but that's 1 turn.
Yeah, it buys him a turn here. But like you said, I don't see it. I mean, he might just try to YOLO face and finish him with the combo. That would probably be his best angle, I think. Which it looks like what he's doing, like just putting out that Blood Knight right to the board, hitting face.
Well, he has to. I mean, the Rogue, pretty much all variances of the Miracle Rogue, you have to put pressure on them and force them to use all their spells on your minions instead of your face.
Yeah, 'cause you definitely are right with that, because the more damage your minions can eat, number one, them running into it with the dagger lowers their health and the amount of damage you need to do. And on top of that, also, it's damage that is not available for them to burst you down when they come to that point.
A Miracle has a very limited amount of damage. They have a very calculated amount of damage. It's enough to kill you, but it's not really enough to kill you and a bunch of minions.
Yeah, so here, okay. Yeah, that was, in my mind, if he was going to backstab Eviscerate or if he was going to trade with his dagger on it. And I would say that would be a very risky play if he ran in with the dagger there, because that brings him only 2 points. Like, if he were to hit that Ancient, he would have been at 16, which is just 2 points short of dying to combo.
And he knows this is more of a token type Druid because he's already seen 2 Power of the Wilds. And this just proves the point right now. Which this might actually work for him. That's 4 minions on board. If they don't get cleared, that's combo's gonna do it.
And, I mean, the Blade Flurry, he could Blade Flurry and then, no, he wouldn't even be able to clear the Annoyatron that way. He's probably gonna, you have to sap the Violet Teacher.
Play Van Cleef. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, he survives this turn.
I was gonna say, he's not dead yet, but I mean, I think he knows he's under the gun at this point.
Is this swipe going to go to face? I would like to see it go face.
I'm ready to learn.
And it does.
Yeah, I think that was the right choice, because the Violet Teacher, or not Violet Teacher, I'm looking at the other side, the Van Cleef here, even with like all like the, you know, shenanigans, with only 2 cards in his hand, there's no way he's buffing it up that big. Like, that's about the worst possible case scenario, and he still has to use the dagger to clear out the taunt.
This is lethal though.
Yeah, with the 1 token, Force plus Savage Roar is.
Oh, I saw him reach for the Savage Roar first.
that would have been a misplay of the century.
Well,
So
this
we're,
is the correct way to get rid of the Druid.
yeah, and
Or, excuse me, the Rogue.
So we're not going to have a sweep. And again, we could see another comeback like we did in the last series. So we'll see what they have coming up. If Joidvivr is going to stick with the rogue, or if he has another deck that he wants to try up against the druid. And for that token druid, I feel like the rogue is kind of a difficult matchup. Like, it's much more of a 50-50, I think, where it comes down to draw versus just being able to overrun them.
It's too much of a risk being 2 games down. I personally would not go with the rogue. Of course, that might be the only deck he had prepared, but we'll find out.
Okay, so he is sticking with the rogue, which, I mean, it's done its work for him so far. So I don't think that's a bad choice.
Well, druid is one of those classes that are the best class at it, that really doesn't have terrible matchups.
Yeah, they're very, like, I mean, granted, some of the, like this Hobgoblin deck is a little bit different, but most druid decks, like the ramp and combo, they do what they do very consistently.
Well, we talked about the rogue's consistency there. When it comes to consistency, that rogue is excellent because of all the card draw that he has.
Yeah, and like the one thing that I think can like cause a druid to stall is if they don't get their ramp, like in the form of Innervate or Wild Growth early on, because if they don't get that, then they just fall too far behind to catch up. But I mean, as long as they draw some type of starter in the early game, druid, like you said, can definitely beat anything.
How about a turn 2 Ancient of Lore?
Yeah, that's definitely some ramp there.
I don't know if I like it that much though, because you used so many cards on it, and a sap here, which we see is not there, but a sap would be just such an advantage.
But in this Hobgoblin variant, I wouldn't say that I dislike that Ancient of Lore, because he used it to draw more cards. So now, like, see, he drew into that Argent Squire. He's got the Hobgoblin with that. He's going to try to generate some tokens here so he can get Power of the Wild. Like, it's a risky play, but I think it's the aggressive play, which is what he needs to be making against this rogue.
It's worth noting here that the tokens off the Violet Teacher do not get buffed by Hobgoblin.
Yes, that is definitely something to take note of.
Which I think the Hobgoblin would be a way better card if tokens created on board got buffed. Like the Spectral Spiders, or tokens off a Violet Teacher, or Paladin's Hero Power.
Yeah, it would be an amazing card, I think. And like, I think the Paladin Hero Power is probably the reason they didn't do that.
That would be slightly OP, yes.
Because I mean, with like the Violet Teacher tokens and things like those, you kill the Violet Teacher and that's the end of them. But the Paladin can just continue to pump them out, and along with Muster for Battle, that could cause that snowball effect that is nobody seems to like to play against too much, judging from all the hate Undertaker got.
Well, it seems like that's the rogue that's developing a pretty decent board.
So what are his options here? The Hobgoblin, Squire, and Power of the Wild. That just... It's probably his best choice, but I don't know. To me, that still doesn't feel that good. Because having all those 1/1s available, it just kind of invalidates your Divine Shield it loses so much of its, what it does.
It's interesting that he went with the Power of the Wild as a minion. I do like it though, but
I think he was
it's a card that I usually keep for the buff.
Yeah, I think he was looking at it as that this way he gets more stats out of it, and
Attention class.
the 1/1s he would have to trade 2 tokens in to be able to deal with it.
I am ready to learn.
That's would at least be my take on it, because he's getting 5 points of stats as opposed to he would have gotten 4 by buffing 1/1 on both minions.
That eviscerate on on a squire couldn't feel good.
No. He need the The Echoing Ooze is alright here, I think.
Well, it deals with the tokens very well.
Yeah. And also too, it gets him something on board if his opponent chooses not to deal with it, to where he could set himself up for a combo kill in the coming turns. Which
That, and he's got Enhanced Mahano, which can give him a lot of value if he has a few minions on the board.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That card is, I think that's one of the underrated cards from the GVG set. That like in say like a zoo or something like this with a lot of tokens, that card can swing a board significantly, because it lays down a bunch of Divine Shields and Wind Furies and things, and all of a sudden you're what looked like a bunch of 1/1 junk tokens all of a sudden can pump out some decent trades, as well as putting out a lot more damage than you expected to be dealing with.
I personally play him in my zoo list, and I really enjoy him there. I only play 1 copy, but I do have him there.
Yeah, I had toyed around with 1 copy in Paladin for a little while, and I have to say it didn't feel bad. Like it worked fairly well, but I just felt like there was better things for me to put in the 4 slot, like with True Silver, Consecrate, that he just seemed like he didn't fit the curve as well as he should.
I got the best deals anywhere.
Oh, this is a pretty strong play from the rogue player. Basically cycles all the cards he had in hand.
Yeah, it's like a old-fashioned miracle turn almost.
And it's bringing the druid really low on health.
He does have the 2 Annoyotrons in hand, which can slow down the rogue a little bit. But
Let's look at Azure here, because what are you digging for that's 4 mana that can save you?
yeah, I was going to say that unless he was going to Azure into a Enhanso, but even that is like best case it gets him a taunt and it still dies to the auctioneer.
And that would still be lethal.
Yeah, with the eviscerate, which like he obviously doesn't see, but it would be lethal.
Well, not just that, because the taunt would die to the auctioneer, and then you got 9 damage on board.
Oh yeah, wow. I was sitting here looking at the 2 tokens the whole time, thinking I was looking at 2 1/1s. Oh yeah, he's in very bad shape here.
Yeah, I can tell it's been a long night for you.
Yeah, it has. These Friday nights they're late for me. But I love it. I love being able to stay up and see these games and just see what these guys come up with every week. It's so exciting.
The creativity and level of play that we get in our challenges is amazing.
Yeah,
And I love the fact that every week we try to think of what decks are going to be viable. We try to make sure that there's a lot of viable decks, and every week people surprise us and bring something completely different than what we thought they'd bring.
And that's what he needed right there, the Blade Flurry.
That's game.
So that would be GG. Congratulations to Joidvivr. Is this the second time he won, or was the last time he was in the finals? Was that a?
He was in the finals. He did not win last time. He was in the
Okay,
finals.
yeah, that's. I couldn't recall if he took first or second place the last time he played in the finals, but it definitely it's a consistent showing from him. It shows he's a strong player. He's definitely a great deck builder. I mean, to adapt to the format. So hopefully we'll see more of him in the coming weeks.
Usually we have announcements at the end of the stream saying what the next week's challenge is going to be. Unfortunately, there's some things that might happen or might not, so we're not quite ready to announce them just yet. So people will unfortunately just have to wait and see.
All right, and I just wanted to give a shout out at the end of this. Thanks again to mpeople.com for being kind enough to sponsor the prize pool for us tonight. It's much appreciated. So any of you guys that are watching this on the VOD that were not part of the tournament, be sure to check out, sign up mpeople. They got a lot of great things going on with their community over there. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Oscar?
No, that should be it for tonight. Just stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on social media, so whenever next week's challenge is posted, right away. You get time to prepare the decks. It will be our usual time and day, so it will be next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's just we're not ready to announce the rules just yet. So stay tuned. Like I said, follow us on social media, and as soon as it's up, you'll be ready to know.
Yeah, and to piggyback right there onto what you said with the social media, I just wanted to add that through February we are going to be doing a sweepstakes of sorts, giveaway for. We'll be having different prizes given away to random followers off of all the social media outlets that we have. So, like Oscar said, be sure to follow if you didn't already, and on Twitter that is at Hearthmind.net. Facebook, it's facebook.com/Hearthmind, and on YouTube it would be Hearthmind.net official, and also on Twitch it would be Hearthmind.net. So be sure to check us out on there, guys, and thanks for watching.